Okay, so here with Michal Orlowski, who has, I guess, in many ways burst onto the scene in recent years. But when I look at kind of the list of world champions I want to interview, you're now a name that's firmly on that list, established as a world champion racer. But actually, we've known each other for quite a long time, and kind of going back to, well, soon after you sort of started in RC, I guess. Now, let's talk firstly a little bit about that. You started in RC racing. How did that start come about, and kind of how did you start racing at RC races, really?
Yeah, I was back in 2006, so a very, very long time ago. Most part of my life I've been racing RC, and I was quite lucky. My dad didn't race RC, but he was into full-scale cars and motorsport. And my aunt that lived in Germany, she bought actually him a present, a Tamiya Mud Fighter, to drive buggy kit, very basic car, which then he built quite slowly. He wasn't extremely enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
But because of his connections and passion towards motorsport, he knew someone that raced with his son in Warsaw in Poland, where I grew up and live now as well. And we went to a race at a shopping mall, which was organized by Mr. Nico, who is well known in the industry, especially in Poland. And that's how it all started back in 2006 when I was 5 years old.
Wow. And then I suppose the RC world really noticed you when you were moving to off-road and were racing things like the EOS races, and particularly when the EOS in its earlier years, I know sort of reading race reports, you were the up-and-coming driver there, racing against people like Daun and stuff like that. That's kind of where you started making your name. So tell us a little bit about your time in the EOS and racing kind of that off-road and that starting to win race and make podiums and things.
Yeah, it was my breakthrough result was actually with Tamiya still, because of Mr. Nico. I was driving Tamiya cars, and I was a big fan of Mark, Lee, and Elliot, and all these guys running Tamiya cars. But I never really had proper support from the brand. I remember my dad told me he was trying many times, but they weren't interested. But I had support from Mr. Nico, who was the distributor, from Tony Sport. He was a huge help throughout my career until today. My first result that put me on the scene was a podium at EOS in Poland with TRF 21 Vega, I think it was conversion, which Lee Martin run. And I remember Lee telling me the story that he was really annoyed with my dad because my dad kept asking him questions about this conversion. And it was quite lucky because I started sixth, and there was a lot of Americans from TLR coming to this race. Jorn, I was dominating EOS at this time, and I went from sixth to third. I remember I was racing Darren Bloomfield for the podium, and he tried to pass on me and stuff like that. And I made a podium there. It was unbelievable for me to be on the podium with Jorn and Dustin Evans, I think. And after this, I was contacted by Jimmy Story, who told me that Durango is interested. Quickly after that, it was end of 2012, I got a contract at Durango, where we had some support for parts, and we could go to the EOS races, and the cars were very good, proven by Jorn and the rest of the team. And I made a few EOS podiums. At the same time, I was still racing touring car, but seemed a bit more difficult. I thought maybe I'm not such a good driver in touring car, but I kept making podiums and A-mains at Durango. Where at some point at the end of 2014 they decided to fire all of us drivers, and I had to find a new home after that. So my time at Durango really put me on the scene. That first result, which was still with Tamiya in Poland when I was 11 years old, made a podium at the EOS, and this was the breakthrough result, and I'm really grateful for that, because if I didn't make that podium, we never know if I would be here.
And then I guess the next step, as you kind of alluded to there after Durango, was into Schumacher. And that's where you've actually been ever since. So it's 12 plus years, or 11 years now I think we're getting to, isn't it? So you started off, you were still at school at that time, weren't you? And that sort of has gone from being a racer and a supported racer, obviously, but it's ended up being your full-time job and now your career as a full-time racer. So what's it been like, kind of that transition? Can you think back to that time moving, the Durango situation, where I think it was quite sudden that program was going to end, and then picking up Schumacher and moving forward with that. What was the sort of emotion at that time? Were you is this like, I've just got to do something, or was this actually, no, this is a new opportunity for me?
Yeah, it's quite a funny story because when I got the news about Durango firing all of us, I mean, even via Rivalry, not really an email, or my dad told me, I remember, I really wanted to go to Yokomo because of Lee Martin. He was at Yokomo, and I think Naut was driving Yokomo, so I really wanted to go to Yokomo. Tony from Tony Sport was close with Yokomo, so I really wanted to do that, and Tony was trying to get me a deal. And while we're waiting for a decision from Yokomo, Mas from Schumacher messaged me on Messenger, and I remember before school I ran downstairs to my dad and told him I got contacted by Schumacher, and literally 2 days after I had a contract signed, and the next day Yokomo sent us an email with a contract, and I was really, really angry that I signed with Schumacher, but it turned out to be the best decision of my life, which turned into a hugely successful story with Schumacher. From the very beginning, I didn't really speak much. I mean, I understood English, but I was quite shy. I was still 13 years old, but I got to work with people like Tris. At that point, Aaron was taking care of touring car. Phil Booth, he was a big part of that story. Mas and Robin from the very beginning. So I grew up together with these people. So they've known me as a small boy and now as a grown-up man. So it's a really cool story to keep driving and getting top results for that brand, which I've been racing for such a long time. And
I think that kind of leads on to the sort of question I wanted to open up with next, which was, how has your role developed? Obviously, most importantly in that, you've grown up. As you say, you've gone from being a schoolboy up to a man now when it's your job, and your role, your job will naturally evolve as you get older and as the team evolves around you. And let's be honest, Schumacher is now in a position where the brand, a lot of aspects of that are built around you as their lead driver. Yeah,
it was at the beginning. I remember EOS's one of my first races with the brand. It was me, my dad, Phil Booth, and I think maybe Simon Moss. I remember he raced at that point, and that was all the Schumacher cars on the track. That was literally just a team sent by Robin to the race, and it was a bit difficult. I remember the beginning to get used to the cars. I knew they were quite good, especially the two drive, because Carson Vernimont, I think, had good results with it. Tom Cockerell as well before. So if after a few rounds of EOS, I remember I had really good pace and I was fighting for the wins. And finally, I got my first EOS win, where with Durango I could make it like a lucky third on the podium. I actually never was second, I was only third. If something happened at the front, I always started within the top 5. And then I got my first win at Wheel Arena, where the Americans came to because of the Worlds in Japan. So that was the breakthrough win I had. That was my first international win with Schumacher, and then I won the Euros in the UK a few months after that. Then I was second on the grid in the Worlds, then finished 4th in Japan. So this first year of Schumacher was such a success that at the end I had a 1-year contract, I think, and after that they kind of knew that I can drive a car. And my role started being more and more important, building a team around me. At the beginning I was quite shy, just a driver. I would go around, play with my friends, not really talk with Tris. I was, I think, scared to talk with Tris and other engineers, and I would just go on the driver's seat and do my best. But then as the years went by, I started to have more experience, understand more about the cars. I still had my dad working on the cars for me, or Tris, but I could give some feedback to the engineers to try and build better cars and further improve the platforms. And after 10 years, we're one of the biggest teams, even at ETS. We've done that at EOS a few years ago already, but now coming here with 40 plus people in the team.
Amazing, yeah. And we've talked mostly about off-road and all of that, but I think people, particularly nowadays, if they're just opening up RC, they'll probably recognise you as an on-road driver. That's been an interesting transition for you. You've always raced on-road, we talked about that, raced alongside you when you were with Durango as well, and still travelling and racing on-road then. But it's probably been, I think, sort of putting a marker in the sand since COVID times, where you've really established yourself in that on-road scene as being one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. Did you plan to go to on-road? Is it just something that happened?
I mean, I've always knew I'm pretty good at off-road because of my times at Durango, at Tamiya, and then the wins with Schumacher. And I always thought I'm not such a good driver in a touring car because I've never had the results I had in off-road. So I really hated doing on-road because one weekend I will be winning an EOS or doing like a double at EOS, beating Bruno and the other guys in off-road. And then the next weekend I'll go to ETS and be in the B final while Bruno was winning ETS. So I really hated touring car because of how bad I thought I am, and the results just weren't there. But we kept trying and doing our best to improve the car and improve my driving.
Yeah.
And I had a few results, like 2018 I made a podium with the MI6 Evo at Tweed Arena. But then I had the last year of high school where I had to stop touring car to concentrate on my exams.
Yeah.
And then COVID started, where I could practice a lot with both touring car and off-road, and Andy took over touring car part at Schumacher, and I did quite a lot of practice there, and the results started to get quite better, but still not quite there. And even during COVID, I remember in Apeldoorn in 2021 or 2, I was literally crying in the pits because of how badly it was going and how I was so lost with the car. And then there was my moment in 2022 in Italy at the Worlds, where we made the main with a prototype car, which then we worked on with Andy, Mattia, and then the rest of the team. And since 2023 here in Daun, where I won my first big race in touring car, we've been the dominant force in touring cars. So it just happened that the car started working. My driving turned out to be actually okay in touring car.
Do you think it was something you changed in your? Do you recognise there was something you changed in your driving or in your approach to the on-road part of it that made that click happen, or is it just a combination of things, just a progression by figuring things out slowly, step by step, as opposed to being a one magic moment?
Yeah, and I never noticed this magic moment in my driving that suddenly I stopped making mistakes or I started doing better lines. We just noticed that actually my pace is pretty good, and here I was fighting for the win with Ronald and Mark. I think it was a combination of the car, the setup work we've done, the teamwork with Andy and Mattia, because in off-road it's, you put the tires on, make right height camber, you put the car on the track and you drive. Here all this setup work, tire preparation, especially on asphalt, it all matters. And you see the success stories with Umino and Ronald, Bruno and Francesco, Mark at Tamiya times always said the mechanic, always being so perfect with the preparation on the warm-up laps. I remember Umino putting Ronald's car directly on the starting grid to start, even not trying if the car works. Yeah. So it's, I think, a bit more difficult to get to that top level in touring car than off-road. Yeah. And I think everything just clicked together, and since then we recognized what we need to do and we kept learning from that point.
But aside from touring car, some of your best results and World Championship is in 12 scale. Yeah. And that's a class that, I think you've openly said you don't maybe enjoy or certainly don't do as much racing with. So what allowed you to be world champion in 12 scale? What happened there? Is it always luck is a factor, but actually you had a lot of pace in the car? If we think about that world championship, you had a really fast car there. Some luck went your way, yes, but you have to have the luck, and we've seen other people win world championships because of luck as well. It's always a factor in racing. 12 scale, it's just been the piece maybe that sort of you've tagged onto the side. Has it been something you've always said I want to do, or has it just been, is it because of Schumacher they say we want you to go and do this race for us?
I actually don't remember how it started, but I think in 2018 was my first kind of races with 12 scale, and I reckon Schumacher thought, maybe this guy can do 12 scale for us because he's pretty good in touring car and in off-road. And then I went to the Euros. I was fighting for the win in stock. I was fighting for the podium in modified, and we quickly, I was learning the category. I still don't know how to work on the car, and he's doing everything for me at the races, at the Worlds that I won. I was just charging the battery and putting stickers on my body shell, and that's it. So it's a different world. But driving-wise, I really believe that driving as many categories as possible really helps me, because I can learn something in 12 scale, I can learn something in 8 scale buggy, I can learn in touring car, off-road, and then combine everything together, and I can drive everything. I feel like
makes you a better driver overall.
Yeah. And I think 12 scale has been really successful because of how good the car is.
Yep.
And this experience, so I can just arrive to a race with, let's say, a weekend of practice before or no practice before. Like to the Worlds, I just arrived in Florida after an off-road race and just drove. And you know, and Andy was there with Ollie Payne for a few weeks. I think a week probably before the Worlds. They arrived there, did some testing, and
you could rely on all of that work that they'd done
Yes, exactly on the data, and the car worked well. I had luck on my side in the finals, which I didn't have many times. You know, in off-road I was close to fighting for the World Championship titles, and that's how it goes at the Worlds, unfortunately.
So the other Worlds we need to talk about is California and Bakersfield. I think it's reasonable to say you went into that Worlds in many people's eyes as the favourite. Did you go into that race thinking, I'm going to be world champion here?
I never thought like that. I knew going to the Worlds, I might win them. And you know, I had this thought going there that for sure I want to fight for the win, but I never went into the race, I'm going to win it for sure because of how well the year has gone so far. I knew we have the car to do it, I knew my skills are there to do it, and the team around me. But I know from my past experiences in 12 scale and off-road how difficult the Worlds is. And I'm proud with the result we had after the first rounds of qualifying. I thought Bruno will take you, and I'll be doing my best trying to put him under pressure from second. But then, I mean, we kept working so hard all week with ever-changing conditions. It was a crazy race in terms of trying to figure out how to prepare the car for every single run of the day because of the temperature changes and the sunset. Everything was chaos, and I'm really proud of how well we did. And I know perfectly how these races can go. You see Ronald when he won 2016. He was so close. He had so much pace at the Worlds previously to do it, but he didn't. Bruno, he dominated the whole race 2016, and then lost it in the finals, where Ronald took his first title. Mark is an exemption when at his first try he took the win, and he won quite a few of them, but it can go either way. So it doesn't matter how strong you are for the whole year. This 1 week or 1 weekend of the Worlds, anything can happen. You can start really badly, finish very well, and you know I come away with a TQ in second. That's what Bruno did in China, and then he won three in a row after that. So.
How emotional were you after that final, particularly after that third final, where you know that was obviously the point where you weren't world champion, and you know Bruno had taken a third one in a row. He's a rival of yours, obviously. You've got on-track rivalry with a number of drivers, and you know arguably the best two drivers in the world at the moment. And it's the two drivers I think everyone wanted to see race for the world championship. Was it a disappointment for you coming away from that race not with the win, or was it actually I'm really proud of what we've achieved? I've never even been on the podium at Touring Car Worlds before.
For sure it's a disappointment, the result, not to take the win, because it's a race every 2 years. I've been to many which I've lost, didn't win. I won only one, and there are other drivers that have won more. But I kind of learned, especially after winning 12 scale, that before I won this 12 scale, I had a lot of pressure on myself to win a Worlds, because I won literally everything
else apart from a Worlds
that I raced in, that I won everything multiple times, but I didn't win a World Championship title. So when there was driver's presentation or anything or something like that, I wasn't a world champion until this race. And since that race, I felt a lot more relaxed. And after the Worlds, of course, huge disappointment, and we put so much effort into this race. We went to California 3 times overall. We spent so much time in extreme heat conditions while testing there, and then being so close yet so far to the win was very difficult, and took me some time to accept it. But there is always the next race on the calendar, so you quickly kind of forget. Of course, I haven't forgotten about it. For sure, I had a lot of tears in my eyes after the race, and I can't even describe the feeling on the driver's stand the moment the race finishes. Either you lose or win. It's something I can't describe. The joy you have when you win, and the pure disappointment that you can't go back in time.
Yeah.
But it's how it is.
It is. It's racing, isn't it?
It's racing. There's always the next race, the next Worlds. And
you'll try again.
Nothing I could do about it, but we'll try again.
So we talked a lot about racing there. I want to talk to you just to end this with a bit about stuff away from the RC track. What else happens in your life? What else do you do? What do you spend your time doing? What do you like doing? How do you switch off from RC?
It's difficult to switch off because I race so much, we test so much. So most of the year I spend traveling or somewhere at the track or hotel rather than at home. But when I'm at home and I have a moment to spare, then I love to play tennis. It keeps me fit. I think it helps me also for my racing, just with the coordination, the rivalry with the other person on the tennis court. So I really enjoy doing that, and I get better and better. But I will never be a pro. I'll just do it for fun. Yeah. And that's basically like my hobby, because racing RC cars, it used to be my hobby. It's still my passion, but it's also my work now. I love it, but it's not a hobby. Where tennis, it's 100% a hobby. I love doing it with my friends. I was really lucky with my friends. We all kind of enjoy playing tennis, so I don't need to find a partner for that. Spending time with my family and friends, it's really important to me to keep these relationships, and I've been lucky enough to have friends for over 17, 18 years that we know each other, and even though I'm away so much, they accept it and stay close, stay in touch, as well as my family. I got a girlfriend recently, so that was quite exciting, and it still is. And I really respect her for respecting my work and me traveling so much. It is difficult at times, but she's always there for me, and I have always something to come back to. So that's been a big help recently.
So I guess to end this then, we'll circle back to what we started with, which is off-road, because that I guess is what's next really on the radar. The Off-Road World Championships in Australia. You're going to be going there. You'll be going in, I guess, probably as one of the strong contenders again. You'd expect that. We never know what's going to happen. It's a bit of an unknown track. A few of the guys are starting to go to test there. In those sorts of conditions, you can never rule out, particularly the American drivers. You know, they've got the experience. You're obviously one of the strongest, if not the strongest from Europe going. Have you started to think about Australia and the off-road worlds yet, or is that still, actually that's a little way away, I'll worry about that later on?
Oh, of course, the moment the Worlds in Arizona finished, we already started thinking about the Australia Worlds this year, and we've been working hard behind the scenes to prepare for that. We'll be going there over again, like always, during the year to prepare. A lot of testing at home, so definitely we're prepared, but you never know how it goes. I'll go in there relaxed. I know anyone can be fast, like we saw in Arizona. Suddenly Tater popped up, won the Worlds where he didn't really have any results apart from that. So anyone can take the Worlds, and if it will be me or someone else, that's how it is. We'll do our best with the team. We have a really strong team with Tris leading us and creating our cars. So I'm really excited to go there, race on some dirt. I have a track at home which I will be practicing at, so it will be exciting to go there, see how it goes. But there are so many other races this year as well, very important. So every race step by step, and then we'll arrive in Australia, and it will be just another race on the calendar. Yeah.
Well, from our side, it's been fantastic watching you grow up through RC. Not only grow up as a man, but also grow up and move through the ranks as well, racing at all the different events, getting onto the podiums, getting those wins in there, getting your first ETS championship as well as seeing the World Championship wins you've had and all the other successes. So I guess, for many people, it's been nice to see you've been that model that we've almost been looking for, seeing one of those youngsters really developing through it. So I think a lot of people want to say thank you for showing them that it can be done and you can go and fight against the established names. And I think we want to see more of that happening. And you know, it's great to see you dominating the sport at the moment. And there's going to be a new challenger coming at some point, we're sure. But at the moment, you're one of the top names in the world at every class you seem to turn your hand to. It's been great to watch. Thank you very much for your time today as well, talking to us. It's been really nice to hear about what your life has been like through RC, what your life is like outside of RC, and just want to wish you good luck in all the upcoming races. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.